It was the 5th spring since my father passed away. As I gazed at the cherry blossoms blooming magnificently in Boston from my window at the Prudential Center, their delicate pink petals as elegant as they were that day, I let out a deep sigh. The flowers I pass on my way from Newton Station to work remind me of the rose garden I once tended with my father. As a project manager at a securities firm, I arrive at work by 7 a.m. and stay until past 8 p.m. After Father's death, I've climbed the corporate ladder to support my family. In my desk drawer, I still keep mementos of him. There's a silver letter opener I inherited from my father, who worked as a real estate agent for 30 years. "This is what I use for real estate contracts," he would say proudly. Next to it sits our last family photo, taken after service at First Baptist Church. That day, my father collapsed from a sudden heart attack. My mother Patricia, who had been working as a stylist at an upscale salon, quit her job after his death. "I just don't have the energy to work anymore," she said, becoming a full-time housewife. My sister Megan dropped out of college, declaring she would become an influencer. In reality, she only has about 3,000 followers, yet she spends her days posting about luxury brands and restaurants. Father's estate was around $300,000. Mother keeps saying, we must maintain our social standing, while visiting the spa 3 times a week and shopping monthly on Newberry Street. She enjoys expensive groceries from Whole Foods and lunches with friends at Legal Seafoods. Not to be outdone, Megan spends her nights taking selfies at Boston Common and Charles River Esplanade, sleeping until past noon. My 529 plan disappeared into family expenses before I knew it. The account I'd been saving for my wedding is nearly depleted. Looking at last month's household expenses, Mother's credit card bills exceeded $5,000. Megan's new brand name bags from Gucci and Louis Vuitton cost $3,000. My salary of $85,000 wasn't enough to sustain their lifestyle. This situation led to my breakup with my fiancé, Mark. His words, "Your family's expenses will be a burden on our future," still pierce my heart. We had even booked our wedding venue. The ceremony planned for Memorial Day weekend is now just a dream. I can't even find time anymore to tend to the rose garden in the backyard that I inherited from Father. Between working overtime on holidays and my side job as an online consultant, the credit card bills keep mounting. Mother, concerned about her standing at church, appears at the weekly after-service tea parties in flashy outfits. When she says, "Rachel, you should be able to earn more. I can't believe you'd turn down a promotion," all I can do is nod silently. Yesterday, I found Father's workshop tools being sold on eBay. Mother had disposed of them, saying they were in the way. The tools Father cherished, the memories of his workshop where he enjoyed woodworking every weekend, were being passed to strangers. I felt something tear inside my chest. Would I continue wearing myself down for my family? Tomorrow is the anniversary of Father's death. Megan canceled her visit to his grave, citing a Miami trip with friends. Her Instagram already shows posts from the airport VIP lounge. Would Father have wanted this situation? On my way back to Newton Station, I decided to stop and think for the first time. One day, I returned home later than usual. After a prolonged launch meeting for a new project at the Prudential Center and dinner with clients, the team was celebrating securing a new contract, but my heart felt empty. I parked my car in the garage of our quiet Newton residential neighborhood and opened my umbrella. The scent of lilacs, which Father used to tend, was stronger in the rain. My shoes splashed in puddles on the short walk to the entrance. Too tired to care, I just wanted to get inside, take a shower, and rest. As I unlocked the front door, I heard voices from the living room. Mother's close friends, her regular group from First Baptist Church tea parties, were having what she called their weekly wine club. The aroma of expensive wine wafted to the entrance. The clinking of glasses, the sound of ice. I could see 2 empty bottles of the $200 Cabernet Sauvignon I'd bought on my credit card last week on the table. Usually, I would head straight to my room, but this time, I froze as I was about to take off my shoes. Mother's voice came through clearly. "Oh, it's really been wonderful. Rachel pays for everything, my spa treatments, Megan's new designer bags. Thanks to her, we don't have to worry about anything." There was a hint of pride in Mother's voice. It was the most cheerful I'd heard her since Father died. What a wonderful daughter. I'm so envious. My daughter says she can barely support herself. You're truly blessed, Patricia. Her friends chimed in, each with their Chanel and Hermes bags beside them, elegantly sipping wine. She's our personal ATM. Mother's voice bubbled with laughter. The sound of raised glasses mixed with more laughter. So convenient. We need her to work even harder for us. Even Megan joined in. Her voice had completely lost the warmth from when we used to share family meals. Her profile, illuminated by a ring light for selfies, reflected in the glass door. If she gets another promotion, we can live even more luxuriously. Yes, that's why she needs to work harder. We're planning to have her give us her entire bonus. That's clever. She's single, so it's not like she has anything else to spend it on. I stood silently with my shoes still on. Raindrops soaked the welcome mat. Memories of Father rushed through my mind like a film reel. Sunday mornings, tending roses together. The scent of soil, the warmth of his large hands, his gentle smile. His proud expression when he gave me a handmade bookshelf for Christmas. His desperate gaze in the hospital during our last meeting, trying to say something while gripping my hand. The family photo on the wall. Back then, everyone's smiles were genuine. Mother took pride in her salon work, Megan talked about her dreams, and Father listened to us all with kindness. I let out a deep sigh in front of that photo. Slowly, I placed my keys on the table. Carefully, making no sound. Next to the crystal trinket box Father treasured. Then, just as quietly as I'd come, I opened the door. Laughter still echoed from the living room. Megan's voice bragging about her new Louis Vuitton bag. Mother saying, "This is all thanks to Rachel." Wishes about wanting to go to the south of France next. Even the flowers in front of Father's memorial photo had been replaced with expensive orchids from Mother's friends. The rain had intensified. Walking back to my car, I felt tears on my cheeks for the first time. The cold rain gently washed them away. As I started the engine, I remembered Father's last words. I finally understood what he meant when he tried to say family. The family our father truly wanted to protect couldn't have been this facade filled with vanity. The street lights of Boston Common were hazy in the rain. My phone already showed 3 missed calls from Mother. On Instagram, Megan was posting about tonight's party. I wouldn't be going back. I knew this was the beginning of change. The radio in my car started playing jazz, the kind Father and I used to listen to together, breaking the quiet of the Boston night. I checked in late at the Boston Copley Marriott. From my spacious room by the window, I could see the lights of the Prudential Center glowing through the rain. I checked the contents of my suitcase, passport, important documents, photo albums inherited from Father. I'd only brought minimal clothes, but that was enough for now. My phone kept ringing. 15 missed calls from Mother, 23 from Megan, and even some from acquaintances at First Baptist Church. When I turned off the screen, I caught my reflection in the window. Despite my exhaustion, I looked strangely refreshed. The next morning, I first visited Thompson and Miller Real Estate, where Father had worked for 30 years. Michael Miller, Father's former colleague and now president, welcomed me warmly as if he'd been expecting my visit. "Your father told me you'd come someday." He rose from his leather chair and walked to the window. "Your father had prepared everything for this day." When I took out the papers showing Father had transferred the house to me, Michael nodded quietly. "The market value has increased. It should be worth at least $1,100,000 now. I want to sell it as soon as possible." My voice sounded calmer than I expected. "I'll send the assessment team tomorrow. But there's one condition." Michael looked me straight in the eyes. "Your father thought about family until the end. Let's make concrete plans for your mother and sister's care after the sale." After completing the paperwork, I headed to the bank. First, I canceled all credit cards in Mother and Megan's names. I also restricted their access to cards in my name. The Bank of America private banker had known us since Father's time. "Ms. Thompson, this is a wise decision. However, you should be prepared for conflict ahead." Her advice was spot on. True to her words, by afternoon, text messages from Mother became increasingly intense. "Why aren't the cards working? What are you doing? Call me right now." From Megan came even more emotional messages. Meanwhile, updates from the real estate company came steadily. The assessment proceeded smoothly, and they decided to list it at $1,100,000. There were already several inquiries. By the third morning, missed calls on my phone exceeded 50. Mother's crying voice was recorded on voicemail. "Is it true you're trying to sell the house? What are you planning to do with us? Your father would be so sad." The last words made me smile involuntarily. Father would surely support this decision. After all, he had prepared for this day. A week passed, and the sale contract discussions became concrete. The buyers were a young family moving from New York. Imagining their children's smiles warmed my heart. A new family's history would begin in this house. During this time, mother and sister tried various ways to contact me. Through neighbors, church community, even father's former colleagues. But there was no turning back. They even showed up at my Prudential Center office. From the high-rise window, I watched security quietly escort mother away as she shouted, "Let me see my daughter." Megan posted a long text about the sudden family crisis on Instagram. But follower responses were cold. Comments suggesting time to be independent stood out. In the final stage of the sale contract, I prepared 2 letters. Notices to be delivered to the house's mailbox. They detailed the move-out deadline and information about support money for their new lives. Following father's will, I intended to fulfill my family responsibilities until the end. 3 days after the eviction notice arrived, on a morning when the Charles River Bridge looked tiny from my 54th floor office at the Prudential Center, the doors suddenly burst open while I was reviewing a new project proposal. Mother's shouts echoed across the office floor. How could this happen? The eviction notice fluttered in her grip. Behind her stood Megan, eyes red and swollen. Her usually perfect makeup was smeared, and she clutched her luxury brand bag roughly. They had apparently pushed past security. My office colleagues watched nervously. Please calm down. This is my workplace. I stood up quietly. Let's talk in the conference room. Talk? Really? Mother laughed mockingly. When you're trying to sell our house without our consent? You're going to use Dad's last gift like this? Megan cut in. My followers have plummeted. All my brand deals canceled. As I guided them to the private conference room, I looked out the window. The trees in Boston Common gleamed in the early summer sunlight. It was just like that bright day 5 years ago at Father's funeral. I have something to explain to you both. I closed the conference room door and began calmly. This house was transferred to me by Father. That's a lie. He would never do such a thing without telling me. Here's the deed. I took out the documents from my file. Father made this decision 3 months before he passed away. Why? Megan's voice trembled. Why didn't he tell us? Father predicted this day would come. With a deep sigh, I continued. The inheritance is gone, credit cards maxed out. Mother's savings are depleted, and my education and wedding funds have all disappeared. That's... Mother's voice trailed off. In the past 2 years, I've spent over $150,000 on family expenses. Spa visits 3 times a week, monthly brand shopping, Miami trips, parties. But that's only natural, isn't it? Mother leaned forward. We're family. Your father would have wanted us to maintain our standard of living. No. My voice rang out, quiet but firm. What Father wanted was for us to be independent. I placed a new envelope on the desk. This is my final support for you both. Mother's hands trembled slightly as she opened the envelope. Moving expenses, $10,000. 3 months rent, $9,000. New Life Preparation Fund, $5,000. How do you expect us to live on this? Megan started to shout. By working. I looked straight into my sister's eyes. You dropped out of college, but you're still young. You can start over. And mother, you still have your skills as a hairstylist. Surely. Mother turned pale. You expect me to work again at my age? There's a salon near First Baptist Church looking for staff. The salary might be lower than before. But this is too cruel. Megan broke down crying. What about my Instagram? My followers? I spoke quietly. If you want to be a real influencer, build your life with money you've earned yourself. Mother suddenly started laughing. A hysterical laugh mixed with sadness. You really are like him. What? That strong will, decisiveness. Tears welled up in Mother's eyes for the first time. But I never thought you'd be so similar in abandoning us. I'm not abandoning you. I stood up and walked to the window. This decision is for a new beginning. Father believed in family until the end. That's why he entrusted this decision to me. Rachel. Megan called out in a weak voice. Is there really no going back? No, we can't go back. I turned to see their figures illuminated by the morning sun. But we can build a new relationship. As they left the conference room, Mother said one last thing. I'm proud of you, probably just like your father was. Those words stopped me in my tracks. When I turned around, tears were streaming down Mother's face. Her makeup was smeared, her wrinkles more visible. But for the first time in a long time, I saw my real mother's expression. As I watched them enter the elevator, I remembered my last conversation with Father. Trust in family. I finally understood the true meaning of those words. Sometimes the harshest decisions come from the deepest love. 1 year later, in spring, cherry blossoms were blooming again in the Boston Public Garden. Walking down Newberry Street for weekend brunch, I heard a familiar voice. Welcome. I turned to see Mother. She had been working as a stylist at Belle Chevaux, a salon near First Baptist Church, for 10 months now. Gone was her obsession with luxury brands, replaced by a simple black uniform. Still, her skillful work remained unchanged. Oh, Rachel. Mother greeted me with a bright smile. This is unusual. I have a brunch appointment. When I answered, Mother smiled knowingly. With Megan? I nodded, and she continued happily. She's really working hard lately. With both her community college assignments and part-time job. My sister was now studying marketing at the local community college while working as a barista at Starbucks. Though her Instagram followers had decreased, I heard she had gained more real friends instead. It wasn't hard to spot Megan at the small cafe in Beacon Hill. Gone were her flashy outfits, replaced by simple jeans. Marketing textbooks were spread across the table. Sorry, I couldn't finish my assignment. I couldn't help but smile as she hurriedly cleared the table. It's fine. I love seeing you so dedicated to your studies. Rachel. Megan looked at me seriously. I'm really sorry about before. For treating you like just an ATM. That's all in the past now. I smiled as I replied. How's your barista job going? It's tough, but I'm enjoying it. Megan's eyes sparkled. Things you buy with money you've earned yourself feel special, don't they? Our pancakes arrived. It wasn't a fancy restaurant like before, but somehow this simple meal warmed my heart more. Hey, are you free next Sunday? My sister asked, looking slightly nervous. There's a volunteer event at church. Mom said she'd help too. Community activities at First Baptist Church. The old mother would never have considered such things. Of course I'll come. On my way home, I stopped in Boston Common. It was Father's favorite spot. I sat on a bench, basking in the spring sunshine. Next to me lay the contract for my newly purchased apartment. It was a modest property near the Prudential Center, but it marked the beginning of my new life. That night, I visited our old house for the first time in a while. A new family had moved in, and children's play equipment dotted the yard. The rose garden Father had cherished was still beautifully maintained. My phone buzzed. A message from Mother. Rachel, your decision was right. We're truly happy now. I found an old album recently. Photos with your father. I feel like our genuine smiles from back then have returned. Instead of texting back, I decided to call. Mother's voice was no longer filled with artificial pretense, but honest and warm. Hey, would you like to have dinner at my new place this weekend? Oh, that would be wonderful. Could I invite Megan too? Of course. You know, she started learning to cook recently. Says it's more economical to make things yourself. After hanging up, I gazed out the window. The night view of the Prudential Center glowed softly. I took out Father's photo and spoke to it quietly. We've finally become the family you wanted us to be. A new form of family. Perhaps it's not perfect. But we're each standing on our own feet while supporting one another. This must have been what Father truly wished for. The spring breeze stirred up cherry blossom petals once again. Change can sometimes be painful. But beyond that pain, new hope always awaits. We, as a family, learned this truth firsthand.